only human beings, we also have other species. Thank you.
Thank you. Other species, so just nature and the environment. 3 buckets really around public participation and the quality of it, and what is that to you? The administration and non-politicized administration, and then that question around finance, I think was a good one. So let's start with Dada Morero, and then we'll come around this way, and then we come to this.
I'll start.
We'll take you in the next round. Can we please have the answers from them, and then we will continue.
Okay. Let me start with an interesting question around environment issues of other species, which I thought it was an important part of the conversation in local government. We have already created partners since we came into office last year. One of the key partners we have is what we call the World Resource Institute. And through the work that we've done with the World Resource Institute, we've also secured funding to help us with the Joskei River, the rehabilitation of the Joskei River, and ensure the safety around the Joskei River. Do I pronounce it properly? Joskei? Or Joskei? Yeah, it doesn't matter. So we are involved in some of the environment programs that we are doing. Some of them as part of climate change programs, and we have been able to even secure some of the funding from international organizations. And one of the key is the Joskei River, which I thought I can make an example. So we are not only investing in people, we are also investing in environment. We're not only investing in its infrastructure, we are looking to noise pollution issues, the air quality issues, the blue drop issue in relation to the cleanliness of our water in Johannesburg. So there is work that's been done around those areas. Well, I haven't listed your research, but probably it gives you an average of the entire 12 years what has actually been spent on. So I'll go back and look at the research, but from the budgets that we've been passing, we've been trying to maintain it at 5%. But we do agree that it's not enough. It should have been at 8%, which is a national norm.
Why wasn't it?
I wouldn't know what would have happened in the past, but for now, we are agreed on 5% as we are trying to build up our reserves to be able to respond to challenges that we are faced with. The reality is we do not have all the money, and there are challenges in terms of the money. There's an issue also raised in relation to councillors being appointed. You know, it doesn't work what they're doing. Unfortunately, it's political parties that contest elections and independent candidates that contest elections. Therefore, in terms of the Systems Act, the mayoral committee of the executive council, it will still be constituted by councillors. So it's not possible just to interview people and make them politicians when probably they are not. Except for the administration, people go through a process of application and they are interviewed. And remember, there's also the work that is done by politicians and the work that must be done by administration, which we as politicians are not, or in some instances are prohibited from interfering with administration. That is why even if there's no mayoral committee, there's only administration through the city manager, work of government will still continue to be done because they have the responsibility. Ours is to conduct oversight and check whether the administration is implementing on council decisions and council resolutions.
Several of the questions are that isn't happening, that the administration is not functioning. Can you?
Well, there are challenges of capacity, of course, in terms of the ability of your administrators to do certain work and correctly and to the satisfaction. But it is also important to go into the satisfactory index to track whether, for example, in terms of waste management, where are we? And the index is here that at least we are now at 90% in terms of customer satisfaction about waste removal in our areas. So that index also helps us to track the work that is being done by our administrators. 2 quarterly reports are brought into council, wherein departments gives reports on the work that they have done, and we assess them on those basis. 2 of NMCs who are heads, political heads of department, are also entrusted with the responsibility to monitor the performance of the officials in their department. So something is being done. It might not be as enough as we want it to be. Unfortunately, there's Labor Relations Act, which stipulates how you implement discipline in the workplace until a person, you can't charge a person for non-performance. The law allows for that, and we have done so even when we came into office. Where there was non-performance, we charge those people, and the process goes until it goes to council to approve one for their suspension, so that we can investigate an individual and eventually charge and get those people out.
And then there was a question about public participation. Please answer that, and then we'll move on to the next.
Well, public participation gives us about 21 days going towards engaging with communities. We also do sectoral engagements. When we talk about sectoral engagements, that's where you've got intimate engagement with sectors in society, because you find them in much smaller groups to engage intimately on the draft IDP. Parties also make contributions, and in fact, it will also be helpful that the Joburg Crisis Alliance gives us an input on the IDP. And those things do go through a process of consideration until council adopts an IDP. And parties also in council don't just adopt it in council without debating some of the issues that must be reflected.
There was a direct question here about, are you satisfied with the engagements that you attended?
Well, at my level, I think yes, we are satisfied that there was engagement. But remember, we have to be honest about that fact. The engagements in IDP sessions themselves, people now tend not to focus on the IDP. For example, in Region B, when we came here, we ended up discussing things that were not even on the IDP. We're discussing things that are provincial competence, police stations, all sorts of issues, and there was defocusing. And we try at all times to bring people back into what the IDP should be. So we are engaging in sectors. It is not enough. Even the attendance of people coming and pitching up by communities and residents, it is not on my side. In terms of attendance, yes, I'm not satisfied. Because my expectation is when I come to Region B, I should have seen this entire wall full to capacity, which was not.
Thank you. Councillor Nobuhle? Thank you.
Look, I think we have to be honest. I do understand why the residents are frustrated with what's happening currently. And I would like to start with Benjamin. Benjamin spoke about accountability and performance management. Mr. Benjamin, when you look at the Auditor General's report, it does speak about consequence management in the city of Johannesburg. And they had concerns that for the past 3 years, there's no strategy to curb this problem we have. Basically, we don't have anything in place for consequence management. People do something that's wrong, corruption activities, fraud, whatever you can call it, right? Yes, will be suspended, but suspended with full pay. Please make that make sense, because I don't understand it. After 12 months or so with full pay, you come back to work. And then they give you a report. Oopsie, it just needs more training. That's where we are. And I'll just be honest with everyone. So when we were in our section 79 in governance, we spoke about this, and we asked the city manager, what is the plan? Because we've got this report, and this has been happening for the past 3 years. Look, as HNSA, we are not a small party, but we are a new party. We only came into local government in 2021, right? So when we see such things and they date back, we ask, don't you have a document that speaks about consequence management? I'm sure you'll know, maybe coming from private sector. There's no organization that can exist without such. I'm happy to say they spoke of a disciplinary board that's in place. So let's give a chance. Let's give them a chance to see if any consequence management will take place. So that's the first thing they have that they've put in. Up to date, nothing has been happening. You get suspended with full pay. Then when it comes to personal responsibility about what is happening in the city of Johannesburg, you are quite right. We should also be held accountable as councillors of the city of Johannesburg. And let me speak on this. Even when you are sitting on opposition benches, right? You know what's happening in council. But our role also sitting in opposition benches is not only to criticize, but to try to come up with solutions. That's our role. So we do come up with solutions. You can see what is happening in the city of Johannesburg. When you look at the inner city, the hijacking of buildings, we submit motions, you know. We submit a motion that deals with the hijacking of buildings because we know those buildings harbor criminals. We know there's illegal activities taking place there. There's no water, there's no electricity. So the people there will start to look for other avenues to access electricity. Look at what happened in Osindiso, the fire that was there that killed 27 people. So we do submit motions, and guess what? It doesn't pass, right? Because we don't have the numbers. The problem with us councillors and political parties is that at times when we should put residents first, we play political games, right? That's a problem that we are facing currently in the city of Johannesburg. The last council meeting we had, the last council sitting we had, the Speaker of Council chased me out, and my caucus decided to follow. You know why? Because there were residents outside who have not had water for weeks, who don't even have access to water tankers. When we tried to tell the Speaker that, Speaker, we cannot continue as business of the day, we've got water in council, but we've got residents who we are supposed to serve, sitting outside without water for weeks. Guess what? She tried to suppress us and ended up kicking me out. So that's what we do behind the scenes. We really try to advocate for people on the ground. We really try to speak out, because the reason why we are councillors, some of us, is because we decided let's leave the private sector and advocate for people in our community. We've got constituencies that we also represent. So if we go to council, sit there, get your salary, and not speak out because you are scared of making a certain political party angry, then you are in the wrong business. And as residents, you should hold us accountable. If a councillor is not performing, don't keep quiet. Don't give them rest. Go to them. They saw an oath to serve you.
And so, yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much. DA Councillor.
Thank you so much. I just want to talk about the public participation. And yes, we walked out because we had requested for the IDP documents prior, so our residents can see and come into those IDP sessions prepared so they can stick to the items. That's the first thing. Besides the fact that we had another public engagement at 6 o'clock, we've also requested for the times to be changed, because we realize that the people in the Region E, for example, not everybody is available 3 to 5. There are people who come from work. So why not have at least 2 sessions? One session for 3 to 5 for people who can, and another session for 1800, and that was completely ignored. And for us, we're not here on our own. We're here to represent our residents. And when we saw our residents are online and they're telling us they cannot hear, they don't understand what's going on, are you expecting us to sit while the residents that we represent are telling us we cannot hear what's going on and we cannot meaningfully engage. I don't believe that that was public participation. It was a sham and it was a tick box exercise, and that is one of the reasons why I led my caucus out of there. That was one of the reasons why we did that. The second question from Ahmed, yes, it is a personal responsibility for us. We need to put ourselves in our residences because we are residents first. We pay rates, we pay electricity and water. So I always say to our caucus and every single councillor, if your bill is incorrect, what are you going to do about it? You're going to go and perform at the council, so that is the reason how you've got to do it for your residents as well. And we do that, and we can see that the DA councillors generally, when they do, you'll see them writing letters, you'll see them ask for engagements and things like that. I want to talk about the professionalizing of the civil servants. The civil service. One of the reasons why we are absolutely, unapologetically against cadre deployment is because it is politicizing of a public sector. We say, we as the DA, we have found ANC-aligned officials, and we left them. We had a gentleman who was employed in the presidency, who was the executive director of development planning. He did his job, and he was appointed. Nobody asked him about his political affiliation. We allowed him to do his job. And when he is no